Good afternoon. To start off today, I'd like to introduce our Superintendent of Schools, Jeannie Rammel, who would like to say a few words.
Thanks, Bill. You have a way. When I say, everybody, to a staff, let's get started, there's lots of talking yet. So they must all be hungry. I'll bet that's it. Okay. Welcome. This is going to be a great evening. This is the eight Hall of Fame inductions. So, and everyone has been so memorable. We've had so many great people that have been in the Hall of Fame. Before we continue, I'd like for you to recognize our Board of Education members. We have our Board President, Larry Diaz, and we've got Larry Diaz. We also have Chuck Klein, who's our treasurer, so we usually sing Chuck. When I look at the Hall of Fame, the inductees, your plaques today, I just thought, oh my gosh, what great people, great people. And then when I really looked at it closer, I thought, my gosh, there are coaches up there, some great, great coaches that we recognize that have been inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I think, my gosh, with the leadership that we have from our Board of Education and how well we're doing academically with our graduation rate, with our ACT, being the second in the county, the highest ever for Milton Union Schools. And I think, my gosh, a coach is a teacher. A coach is the same as a classroom teacher. They role model, they get kids to work together, to collaborate, to make great teams, look forward to the best ever. So, I would like to recognize all the staff that's present tonight, past, current, and past, and all the coaches who have coached for Milton Union. Please stand. How wonderful. Leaders all the way around, coaches, educators all the way around. So I know this evening is a great evening and it belongs to four special people on the stage. And when I look at the four special people, I remember everyone quite well except for Dick Overla. Dick, I'm so glad you're going to be recognized because you're probably one of the few that's here that's older than I am. So thank you. And I know that Dick was a great football player because when I read about him, it's like, oh gosh, 99-yard return, good for you. And of course, Kim Burner-Dorman. Sure watched Kim play a lot because she was in the same grade as my daughter. What talent she has, and of course that's that Burner family. Kim, thank you for the many nights of entertainment that you provided us. And then we have Clint Magel. You graduated in 91, and Clint sure had a lot of, how many letters? He doesn't know. Football, basketball, I think we also did track. But it's so much fun, the number of hours that they entertained us, but we also have to remember the families, because the families had to give up a lot as their family members were playing. The last, but not least, is Doc Gibb. I didn't watch you play Dick, or Dick Evans, because I'm not that old. But he has done so much since he's returned to Milton Union. And I can't say how much he cares about Milton Union Schools. If I need advice, if I want to know which way to turn, here's one of the people that I talk to and say, okay, what do you think, Bill? Bill's always very honest and he gives me great advice. So I know a lot of people are bulldogs, but I don't think anyone is more of a bulldog than Doc Gibb. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much. I'd like to officially welcome everyone to the 8th annual Milton Union High School Athletic Ceremony. As she said, I'm Dr. Bill Ginn. I'll be introducing 3 of our inductees, and then someone else will be introducing the last inductee today. This assembly is one of my favorite things to do all year long because it's so cool to see all these living legends that walk through the door. I was just ticking off my list of people who are my personal heroes and people that I know, and it's just a great day for all of us. Before we get to our inductees, there are some people here I'd like to recognize, and I'm going to read the names of all the Hall of Famers, and if you are in attendance, please stand and let's recognize you. Diana Broombaugh-Finfrock. I know Diana's here. Stand up, Di. Yeah. Tom Gingrich, Chuck Green, Kelly Behrens-Hoffman, Bob Schul. I know Bob's here. Melissa Marshall-Vance. There's Melissa. The late Ken Hemrick. Ken's not here. Dorothy Ginn for Bill Ginn. Bill Fox. The late Charlie Fox. Watt Farrar. The late Watt Farrar. Steve Huffman. Oh, Nancy's here? I didn't see her come. Nancy, are you here? Oh, Nancy, stand up. Nancy Farrar Allen. Terry Tyson. The late Carl Broombaugh, and I saw Phil here. Phil, would you stand up? There you go. The late David Kripe. Ron Berner. Mike Kelly. Kenny Beard. The late Ronnie Peel. Jen Sakel McGrath. Hal Adkins. Margie Coate. Bill Carnes. Rex Warner. I know Rex is here. Sharon Paul. Katera Swank Sweargen. Todd Berner. Ralph Hildebrand. What up, Ralph? Dave Fine. There's Dave. Lori Kinnison-Meyer. And Carol Lendensky, representing the late Ed Lendensky. Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry. Oh, Sally. Sally Dickinson. I skipped right over you. Common thing. Is there anyone else I forgot? All right. With that, we'll go on with our introductions here. Our first honoree tonight is still remembered as one of the toughest, most relentless football players to ever wear the red and white. And of course, I'm talking about Dick Overla from the class of 1955. Football wasn't his only area of excellence. He also received varsity letters for baseball, track, and basketball while here in Milton. He was all SWBL in football and led the SWBL in scoring in 1954. He also has the distinct honor of holding a record in the state of Ohio that will never be broken. On November the 12th, 1954, the last game of the season versus Randolph Township, which eventually became Northmont High School, Dick ran 99 yards from the line of scrimmage for a touchdown. You can't run one any farther than that. Coach Overla then attended Baldwin Wallace College, where he lettered for 4 years in football and 2 years in baseball. He returned to Milton and was an assistant coach and teaching staff member for 5 years before coaching at 2 other schools. Coach Overla was my line coach at one time, and let me tell you that he was not afraid to tell you exactly what you were doing wrong. And he had an evil grin as he watched us play Shield and Shed and Bull in the Ring. You guys remember that right there. He was the definition of intensity as a coach. I'll tell a quick story. One time while waiting in the lower portion of the locker room, at a halftime of a particularly tight game. We, the players, heard a commotion in the upper locker room, some yelling, some banging, some scuffling, and then rolling down the stairs into the lower locker room came Coach Overla, having a discussion with Roger Wise. I don't know if Coach remembers that. It was a heated discussion, but it definitely got our attention. At any rate, it's my pleasure to introduce MU Hall of Famer Dick Overla.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ginn, Dr. Ginn, for your introduction. I hope you didn't believe all of it. Now, I didn't come with a speech. The main reason, for the last 26 years, I've been working on levees, and when you talk to those gophers out there, they don't answer you. So that's why I really didn't prepare myself for a speech. Not that I was comparing you all with gophers, but it's just I haven't acclimated myself into talking in front of a crowd of people here lately. But I do appreciate all you people who give your support to me, and I'd like to especially recognize my nephew, him and his wife, Jamie, for the work that they have done, and all my family who came to see me, and my baby sister, Dorothy. She's 96 years old, so that's why I call her my baby sister. She was right here in the wheelchair, but I don't know where she's at now. There she is. She's 96 years old, going on 97. So, and I appreciate you coming, Dorothy. So, but other than that, West Milton has been blessed with a lot of good athletes. I mean, we're even over in Japan, they know Milton Union. I don't know how they say Milton Union over there, but we're recognized over there. And we've had one of who has had an outstanding record, who was a West Milton grad. He coached here at the University of Dayton, which was Mike Kelly. I believe I usually get him and his dad mixed up, but his dad was a great follower of mine when I was in high school. He used to call me Booby. I don't know where he got that name from, but that's what he used to call me. And, even some of our universities, Louisville, we've had some athletes of West Milton Union to graduate from here and go down there and play. Rex Warner, which I know you all know, and then Bill Carnes, and then we've had some go out here in Manchester and play out there. So, and we've had Bob Saltmarsh at Miami University, and the Fox Twins in basketball. So Ken Hemrick, Lake Ken Hemrick up in The reason I'm lopsided is my soles on my shoes have rotted off, and you can see it's the first time I've worn them in about 5 years. And 5 years ago, I thought I got a deal on them. I think I only paid $2 for them. But I got cheated after that. I'm going to take them back when I get back down there. So, but I looked at it, and I was getting ready to whip my dog for chewing up my shoes. But I looked out, and I kept walking in here, and I just kept stumbling down. And I looked down, and what you see out there, you can see where I stood. It's all black marks out there. So. But to get back on where I was at, whereas West Milton is very notorious as far as their athletes are concerned. And then, of course, nationally we have Bob Shule, and Dave Kripe played in Miami, and the Fox twins, and then we had some outstanding coaches here. We had late Watt Farrar and Ed Lindinsky, and I had the pleasure of coaching under Watt, and then I had the pleasure of coaching with Ed. He was assistant also in football, as I was. But we had some good years, and I see some of my ex-players out here. Mr. Ginn here was one of them. He was an ex-player. I know he never talked that nice to me out on the field, but I don't understand why. And then, of course, I played under his dad, and then I played under Bob Long, who was also the football coach here some time ago. And another thing, you know, West Milton takes great pride in their athletics. No matter where you come from, when they come to West Milton, it seems like, well, it's basically football. Now, I can't say too much of basketball, even though we have had some good teams, but West Milton has just never been a basketball school. We've always been a football school, to my knowledge. And then, of course, Bob Schul brought a name in track, and Ronnie Peel. Ronnie Peel has won the state 2 years in a row, which is good. And then Bob went and won the, what is it, 64 Olympics? Wasn't it, Bob? 64 Olympics? Yeah. See, now you can tell that I'm getting up there in the age. I can't remember. So, but other than that, people, I don't have too much to say. And I know you heard enough now, so you want me to shut up. So I do want to congratulate the other recipients here on what they have accomplished. So, now back when I was in school, you know, I think when did they change this, where girls really didn't, ladies didn't really get recognized, but I think it's great that they do that now. So if it had done that, I'd have probably participated in more sports than I did. So other than that, I want to thank you all for coming, and thank you for who give me their support. Thank you. Now, if that means I'm going to speak anymore, I'm not.
You know, he is not kidding. There are parts of his shoe all over there. I don't know what that's.
They robbed me.
They did. Oh, there you go. All right, next up on the agenda is Kim Burner-Dorman, class of 1990. Kim was an absolute standout athlete in the late 1980s and the early 1990s, who received 11 total varsity letters in 4 sports: volleyball, basketball, softball, and track. In basketball, she ended her career ranked number 2 on both the career scoring list and the career rebounding list, behind Charter Hall of Famer Kelly Behrens. She was the MVP of the 1988-89 basketball team. In track, she was the most valuable field performer in 1990 and a state qualifier in the discus throw that year. But Kim's real claim to fame was as one of the greatest volleyball setters our school has ever seen. Kim was a 3-time All-Southwestern Rivers Conference performer and was District 9 Player of the Year in 1989. She was voted to the All-Ohio squad that same year as well. She was awarded for her fine career with a full scholarship at Troy State University, now Troy University, and lettered there for 4 seasons, leading that team her senior season into the NCAA Division I level. Kim is on a very short list of Bulldog volleyball players who participated at a Division I school. She was honored with the Joyce Sorrell Senior Female Athlete Award at Troy, given to the top female student athlete based on academics and athletic performance. I remember Kim as the ultimate leader on the court. She didn't pull her punches when it came to doing things correctly and wasn't afraid to speak up when it was needed. I always thought of her as a very focused player with a great deal of talent. And even more remarkable is that Kim even had a senior season, as she suffered a career-threatening knee injury on the opening tip-off of a district final basketball game in 1989 versus Preble-Shawnee. That was in the day when a severe knee injury required nearly a year to recover. Yet Kim, with a bulky derotation brace in place, was back for her senior volleyball season in just a little over 6 months. That desire and determination was what Kim was all about. So without further ado, Kim Burner-Dorman.
Thank you. I think we'd all like to think we leave a mark here at Milton, but Dick really is leaving a mark here tonight. Please keep your fingers crossed for me. I've been so uncoordinated with this pregnancy. I'm hoping by the end of the night we don't have to rename it the Hall of Shame night instead of the Hall of Fame night. And I'm going to try not to get emotional, but again, we can blame it on the hormones if that happens. I want to congratulate my fellow inductees. I'm always amazed and humbled. I'm having trouble getting this close to the mic because of, can we move it forward a little bit? Thank you. I want to congratulate my fellow inductees. I'm always amazed and humbled at the accomplishments of fellow Milton athletes and leaders from all the different eras, both tonight and at past banquets I have attended. And I'm sure all of you are as relieved as I am to see a doctor this close to a 7-month pregnant woman, so thankful for that. I want to thank the induction committee and congratulate past inductees. What an incredible group of people to have influenced Milton Union athletics over the years. And Doc is amazing with his stats. He had some that I had forgotten about or didn't even know that I had, but I might have one stat that you didn't mention about me. Of the past 32 inductees in the Athletic Hall of Fame since it began in 2005, I've had the privilege of being directly influenced by 10 of them. That's nearly a third, and to me that says a lot. I played basketball and volleyball with Kelly Behrens. I played youth soccer and high school basketball with Jen Sakel. Sharon Paul was one of my teachers. I was coached by Kenny Beard in track, Margie Coate in softball. Katara Swank was one of my junior high basketball coaches. And Dickie, well, she coached everything. So she coached me in volleyball, basketball, and track. Ed Ladinsky was my high school principal, and I was fortunate enough to interact with him during the last months that he spent on this earth. What an amazing opportunity to get to know him in this way, besides our student-principal relationship. And finally, my brother Todd and Father Ron. Little did I know that during my years at Milton, I was surrounded by greatness. I'm sure there are future inductees that have influenced me as well. I am still surrounded by greatness as I look around this room and see familiar faces. I'm supported by my family here tonight, my parents Ron and Karen, my older brother Todd, who drove in today from Pittsburgh, my younger brother Rusty and his family, my husband Dayon, who was my high school sweetheart, my daughter Sydney, my son Cody, and my son on the way. He pretty much follows me wherever I go. And my aunt and uncle. I see many friends, and I feel so very blessed. I had great friends and teammates in high school, and I have an amazing group of friends in my life right now. Many of them are here tonight, and I appreciate them and thank them for their support and truly value our friendship. As you can imagine, growing up in the Berner home was all about sports. How fortunate I was to have my dad coach me in so many youth teams. I never really appreciated the extent of his knowledge or the experience at the time. I made him help tally it up because his memory, if you know him, his memory is probably better than mine. Over 40 teams he coached over a 20 to 25 year time span between us three kids. I am still learning from him. My kids will ask me a question when we're watching a game, and I'll answer, "I'm not sure. Let me ask your grandpa." And he usually knows the answer. Growing up, my older brother Todd was an awesome influence. There were no girls in our neighborhood, so that meant I was the tag-along little sister who played wiffle ball, football, baseball, whether they wanted me to or not. But Todd never fought it, not that I remember. When he was in high school and I was in maybe 6th or 7th grade, he started bringing me along to play basketball at Starver's Gym with some of his high school teammates during the summer. And at first, some of them asked, "Why did Burner bring his little sister along?" And he quickly answered, "I'll take her on my team. She can play. I wouldn't have brought her if she couldn't handle it." And then he usually shot me a look that I knew I better be able to handle it. I learned quickly how to play aggressive and hold my own if I wanted any chance of returning. He worked with me in the driveway countless times with basketball, helped me with hitting and setting in volleyball. He ran a summer jump training plyometric clinic for me and my teammates to improve ourselves. He came into volleyball practices and served and hit at us and hit at us and hit at us, along with Doc Ginn. They helped make great teams those years. My younger brother Rusty was destined to be a sports nut. Being 8 years younger than I and 12 years younger than Todd, he was dragged to every possible sporting event from infancy on. No wonder he's coaching now, and I'm so glad he is. I am so very proud of my little brother and how he has brought the excitement and the winning attitude back to Milton Union boys basketball. Not just the winning season you're having, but the type of players you are molding. The hustle, the teamwork, and the dedication I see in your players and in you for this program. And then there is my mom. She taught me so much more than the skills of the game. Okay, I can't look at you. A strong work ethic, dedication, and determination. When I was told I wouldn't make it back for my senior volleyball season after my knee surgery, she was determined otherwise. I would not have made it back to my senior season if she hadn't pushed me like she did. It directed me to my calling today as a physical therapist. And I saw that same determination in her when she was diagnosed with breast cancer this summer. She paused for all of 5 seconds before asking the doctor, "Okay, what do we need to do to beat this thing?" I knew then that this was only going to be a hurdle in your life. I know you're going to conquer it. In becoming a parent and a coach, I have learned to appreciate my parents and my past coaches and teammates that much more. Many of my most memorable moments from high school revolved around sports, my coaches, and teammates. Sports imitate life, and I learned so many life lessons from my involvement in athletics. While coaching, I found myself quoting many of my past coaches, but probably Dickie the most. She had me for 6 seasons, and she helped me coach one of my daughter's junior Olympic volleyball teams here just recently. She was and has been such an incredible coach, mentor, and friend to me over the years. Just an awesome influence in my life, as many of you as well. I didn't always feel this way towards her, though. As a freshman, I was absolutely terrified of her, as many of you were too, you remember, and what she might do to us in a practice. It was during the varsity volleyball tryout my freshman year that I found out she was human. Now, those of you that are of my generation, I don't know if you remember, there were shorts that we wore called jams. And there were these long-legged shorts with crazy bright colored patterns on them. And they were not made of spandex like they are now. So they really were not meant to stretch. I can even remember the drill we were doing when I dove to the side to get a ball and heard and felt a loud rip and realized I had split the back seam of my shorts all the way up, about that far. And of course, the upperclassmen just burst out in laughter. If you know Dickie, or if you've ever been in one of her practices, you didn't start laughing in the middle of a drill, especially during tryouts. At first, I thought I have ruined my chances of trying to make the varsity team, and then I thought it's not going to matter because she's going to kill me anyway. She was furious that we were laughing in the middle of this drill. And then one of the seniors yelled out, and I'm pretty sure it was Amy Rammel, which for those of you now would be Julie Motz's older sister. She yelled out, "Check out the freshman." I turned around and showed her, and bent over and showed her, and pardon the pun, but she cracked up. She told me to go in her office and call my mom and bring me a new pair of shorts, and she didn't kill me. I'm pretty sure that event landed me my nickname from all the upperclassmen. If you just add a D onto our last name, you get Bernard. So those are my friends that have heard other people call me that. That's where it came from. That nickname stuck, and even to this day, when I see those upperclassmen, this is how they greet me. And I don't mind at all. It reminds me of the great times I had in athletics at Milton Union. I think being successful in anything in life comes from the grace of God and the influence of the people around you and what you choose to do with that influence. I'm grateful that God gave me athletic talent and blessed that He surrounded me with greatness. Thank you again for this award.
Okay, next up is Clint Magel, Milton Union class of 1991. Clint earned 7 varsity letters while at Milton, 3 in football, 3 in basketball, and 1 in track and field. In football, Clint ended his career 4th on the all-time receiving list and was twice an All-Southwestern Rivers Conference honoree. In basketball, Clint was number 13 on the career scoring list at the time of his graduation and number 3 on the career rebounding list. He was an All-SRC performer his senior year in basketball as well. And in track, after being convinced to participate by Hall of Famer Sally Dickinson, I think that's right, he really hit his stride, as it were. He became SRC champion in 3 events, the 110-meter hurdles, the 300-meter hurdles, and the long jump, and set school records in all 3 events. He qualified for the state track meet in the process. He broke the school record for points in a season by over 80 points that year, and held 9 of the top 10 fastest 110-meter hurdle times and the top 10 300-meter hurdle times when he graduated. He was the 1991 Senior Male Athlete of the Year, which was extremely appropriate since he ended up as a decathlete at Miami University, finishing 5th at the MAC Championships his sophomore year. I was fortunate enough to have seen Clint play on many occasions, and he was one of those players that you tend to say, I'm glad that guy's on our team. He was an extremely hard worker, a great team player, and I always thought he played like he was kind of ticked off about something. And as a matter of record, I think Clint made the first legal dunk I ever saw in a high school game while here at Milton. I also remember very well that twice his senior year, Clint was responsible for defeating our old SRC foe, Versailles. Versailles was a school that we could never quite get a handle on in football and basketball, but during that year, Clint was the Versailles killer. In football, with Versailles leading 22-19, the quarterback dropped back to pass and was hit, with the result of the ball falling into Clint's arms. He raced 32 yards with the interception for a pick 6 and a Bulldog victory. And in basketball that season, with the score tied 61-61, Clint took a pass from a teammate, dropped in a foul line jump shot that beat Versailles 63-61. His team became district champions that year. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, Clint Magel.
First off, I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee for the nomination to be inducted. Also to my family, aunts, uncles, cousins, everybody that is here, for being so supportive, especially to my mom and dad, never for missing a game or meet, no matter what the sport was, especially basketball, where my dad always kept his composure, never yelling or stomping out of the stands after the refs, or throwing his fake toupee into some older couple's unsuspecting lap. And last, my brother, Nick, all my teammates, friends, and coaches for a memorable 4 years at Milton Union High School. Looking back, one of my favorites and fondest memories had to be the Versailles game my senior year. We were both undefeated in league play, and of course we were the underdogs. Versailles already had a couple state titles in as many years and were favored again. On top of that, it was also homecoming. We were operating on an emotional charge, dedicating the game to Coach Farrar, who had passed away the previous year. The coach's #1 goal every year was always to beat Versailles. Then it was to win league or do anything else, but Versailles was always his top priority. The stands in the end zone were full of fans. They were 4 and 5 deep. I'd never seen or been in a game where there were that many people there. The game was back and forth all game, and we were behind in the fourth quarter, and with 3 minutes, we intercepted a pass, and it got ran back for a score. Our defense held them, and when the game clock hit triple zeros, the fans rushed the field. First person I remember seeing was my brother out of the stands to congratulate us. Everyone was very crazy. Versailles went on to win that state title, and we were the only blemish on their record. That was pretty cool. Another memorable season would have to be the Cincinnati-Olentangy game for the district title. We had a very talented and exciting team. Played a lot of up-tempo basketball, and we were a lot of fun to watch. We had just cruised through sectionals, and Coach Tyson took us to scout the team down in Cincinnati. It was fun to go down there and see a different side of Coach, to get to scout with him and see kind of that other side of the basketball coin. We got to play at the Nutter Center. It was pretty cool to play in a big arena like that. Our team fired on all cylinders that night, and we beat a very talented Olentangy team for a district title. I believe they were 20-2. Coach let us always play basketball and make a lot of our own decisions and have freedoms during the game that made the games fun. We played hard for the man and respected him. Thank you, Coach. The last sports memory I would like to share with you would be track season. I have Sally Dixon and Mike Rohr to thank for getting me to run. Both had different reasons. Mike Rohr's reasons had something to do with Mickey Mouse and girls. Dickie saw something else in us during basketball, and she thought that I could jump. I'd always been in team sports, and I saw that track is an individual sport, but I found it more to be a team sport when we won invitationals, and it really rang true when we won league as a team my senior year. And then we also finished second in the regionals as a team. The memories that I really cherish, though, are the ones that a lot of parents and Bulldog fans don't really see. They're the ones that really mean something to you. Grilled cheese sandwiches before the football games at the Roars. My last hit was Studebaker. The battles between Sean Millhouse and I in the hurdles. Listening to Born to Boogie with Thompson before the basketball games. The team meeting at the cemetery at Coach Farrar's grave before the Versailles game. And then this was kind of a goofy idea, but Coach Finfrock, I'm sure most of you are familiar with him. He had just got done with a very successful season or career in college, and he started coaching at Milton. Well, the coaches, we had a stud running back we were getting ready to play, and the coaches decided to put Kevin in full pads. He lasted 2 plays because we had 2 injured players immediately. Pickett, Sam, Phil, on the way out to the field before the game, in between the locker room and the stadiums, yelling, "Go kick some butt." They put it differently. or knock somebody down, boy. Mike, Rod, or Jason telling me when I first started to run track, when you got across the finish line, you needed to lean really far forward. Found that not to be true because you do a face plant into the track. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that one. To the coaches over the years, thank you for the impact you've made in all of our lives. I never understood a lot of the challenges that you faced dealing with us athletes and how much this impact rings true until you start living on your own. Never giving up in yourself, believing in yourself, discipline, and compassion. I've coached for quite a few years myself in football, basketball, and track, and I see why why you do it for many years, getting to watch your cousins, sons, and daughters all succeed in sports as well as life. The look on their face, the reactions, the thanks, the agony of defeat, and helping them pick up their lives, pick back up. Coach Farrar and Coach Dews taught us how to be tough and how to almost pee your pants when they grab you by the face mask and swing you around for talking in the background. Coach Tyson, to have fun, play hard, and be disciplined, and be a good person to your fellow man. Dickie, same thing. We kind of started off on the wrong foot. My freshman, sophomore year, I was a little more into running around and chasing her female athletes. Then I think it kind of made her mad, but she never did give up on me. She believed in me and saw something. Last, to Coach Beard, man, I have tremendous respect for. Thank you for being not only are his shoes falling apart, but he forgot to silence his phone. Go ahead. Now I've lost where I'm at. Coach Beard, to a man who I have tremendous respect for, thank you for being around to help put a hand in for everything that goes on with Milton Track, and even at the state level. But I don't think a lot of people see the work that Coach actually puts into this and the hours that he does in this. Also for helping me reach the next level at Miami. The work you've done is just tremendous. Oh, I'm missing a page. There it is. Thanks, Doc. Thanks to all of you coaches for help shaping our lives, I think that we listened to you guys more than our parents in that time. One little fact, we were talking about stats, and you missed one with Kim, but Dayon and I were at a basketball game a couple weeks ago. Both of our daughters play on the 7th grade basketball team. And Dayon kind of turns around and looks at me. He's like, how many years did we play football together? And Dayon, if you know Dayon, he always comes up with off-the-wall stuff. I said, 3. Okay, and kind of turns around and turns back around and looks at me again. How long were 2 days? I don't know, 2-3 weeks. 10 weeks out of the season, yeah. Okay, now I'm kind of starting to wonder what's going through his head. And he looks at me and he says, wow, you and I have showered more together than my wife and I have. Where he comes up with that, I don't know. Sorry, Kim, I got you beat on that one.
I'm jealous.
Once again, thank you, everybody. I'm very humbled and thankful for this honor. Go Dog.
This is a bit of a switch. As you probably guessed why. We decided, even though Doc does these so well, that it probably wouldn't be best to have him do his own. So I have that honor. And I mentioned to someone this morning, it's also an opportunity for some of you that had to struggle through the night I gave my acceptance speech, which, as my understanding, is still record length. that I now have the opportunity to set 2 records up here for both an introduction and acceptance speech. So kind of relax, okay? I've known Doc since in the 50s when he was one of my assistant coaches for the basketball team when his dad was the head coach, and he and Bob would help out. Probably not unlike a couple of little brats that run around and help out with the current situation. Doc's dad was much more than just a coach to me, and to those of you who knew him would realize what that meant. Made me realize that coaches can be much more than just a coach. They can help you grow up at a time when it's difficult to do that. And Doc's dad, who was in our first introductory group, was very much that to me. And I see many of the characteristics in Doc that I did in Coach. Hard work, high character, integrity. I'm sure this is a proud night for him as well, Doc. Doc is both a friend and a doctor. He's always been professional but available. Available even at 11:30 at night when he was stitching up Rusty and after a game at Graham, and he decided to put the 23rd stitch in above his eye because that was his favorite number at that time. And didn't realize he would do the same procedure about 3 weeks later after a run-in with the same player on the same team. There are some little-known stats about Doc that since he started here in 1984, he's done 5,317 physicals for Milton Union athletes. He's kept stats for 291 football games and for over 1,000 basketball games. Now, I must confess, those numbers that weren't round numbers were actually made up, but when you make up a number, if it's a precise number, everybody believes you, and if you say it's 500, they know you're just guessing. So, I did a little research on Doc with regard to his playing days. Found out that he was also involved in golf, in that he worked for a number of years at Homestead Golf Course, cleaning carts, eventually moving up to where he was allowed to go out and mow. He and current Hall of Famer Terry Tyson. And he had a tendency to want to play practical jokes. So he would find a golf ball and find a tee and glue them together and then set them on the tee and then mow close enough around it he could see what would happen when one of the golfers found it and tried to hit it. Or he would take 2 golf balls and glue them together and put them in the sand trap with one of them underneath the sand and the other one sticking out. And then he'd hang around that area mowing to see what would happen. He also had some tendencies that shouldn't shock you now. He collected things, amazingly. Sugar packets was one of them. I don't know if that's still a collection item. T-shirts, which I think is probably still on the list. NFL mini helmets. Bottle caps. He also was a bit of a fashion setter. Doc's dad eventually got into the sports equipment business, and with Charlie Dickey was involved in that. So he had access to some of the equipment available there, and he began wearing headbands well before headbands were fashionable. So he kind of started that trend as well. From a playing perspective, he stood out because of his competitiveness. He played hard. He didn't attempt to be flashy. He was more a grinded out person. And then the other note that I liked, and this is a shocker, he always liked to be precise with everything. If you know Doc, you know it's extremely true. And all of those characteristics, as both a longtime physician, a longtime outstanding community member, and a longtime supporter of Milton Athletics would easily get him into the Athletic Hall of Fame, but he's going in as an athlete, and he should be going in as an athlete because of the following during his career. He had 8 varsity letters in football, basketball, and baseball from 1970 to 1974. He was all SWBL in all 3 sports. He was Milton's basketball most valuable player in 73-74, and he ended his career number 12 on the career points list. He was an all SWBL first baseman in 1974. He was all Ohio in football in 1973 and ended his football career number 1 on the career receptions list. He then at Butler University was a 4-year football letter winner. He was all Indiana Collegiate Conference and led the NCAA Division II in pass receiving in 1976. He also has returned here and has been involved in coaching with our volleyball program for 15 years and the last 8 as the head coach. It is my honor to introduce to you our final inductee this year, Bill Doc Ginn.
I thought he would never stop. Thank you, Ron, for that nice introduction. I've had the great fortune to be the master of ceremonies for all 8 of these Hall of Fame inductions. And the tradition is for the inductee to relate a few of their few stories about their career, but I'm not going to directly do that with this speech. After all, you've been listening to me talk all afternoon. So I want to use this brief time to say a few thank yous, maybe tell you a couple things you haven't heard, and to reflect on this, which I consider the greatest honor I have ever received. In my life and athletic career, I was fortunate enough to have unbelievable support, not only from my family, but from men and women who provided instruction, motivation, and focus to my life. First and foremost, with me through all of this was my wife, Joy, but more on her later. My mom and my dad were as supportive to me in anything I did athletically as parents could be. They were there for me not as the fawning, controlling parents we see it sometimes today, but were involved in just the right amount of my life. If I wanted to play a sport, they allowed me to, and they gave me everything I needed to succeed. They sacrificed vacations so I could go to practice. My dad made sure I had the right equipment. My mom fed me, nurtured me, as we spent so much time together when my dad was on the road. They let me fight my battles when I felt like I was being treated unfairly. And they realized that I, believe it or not, was capable of making mistakes, facing adversity, and then overcoming it all on my own. They were there with love and support, but never blind intervention. My sister came along when I was 11 years old and was as supportive as a sibling can be, and that wonderful support has continued in our adult lives as well. All I know that with the greatest comfort in the world to me was looking in the stands and seeing my family there watching me. But the reason I became any kind of athlete and discovered what kind of dedication and determination it took to be good was directly due to my older brother, Bob. All I ever wanted in athletics was to be as good as I thought my brother was. I wanted to do what he did. He was in a bowling league, so I bowled. He played first base, so I played first base. He was a quarterback, so I was a receiver. Bob was 4 years ahead of me, a successful quarterback on what is arguably the best Milton football team ever, the 1969 team, and was going on to play football collegiately at Capital University. And not to denigrate any current athletes, but most of us older timers know that back then, if you were going to play at a higher level, you really had to be good, and he was good. It was him who got his little 9th grade brother to the football field nearly every night through the summer, and we worked out and we threw the football. We threw hundreds of passes every night, and this continued through 4 years of college. When a high school kid has a collegiate quarterback throwing to him every night, you are bound to get better, and I did. And I got to the point where I could catch just darn near anything. When I got a scholarship to play wide receiver at Butler University, I had the template for success and hard work. I learned that I never wanted to be outworked by anybody, and that has carried over to today. I can't remember ever publicly thanking him for what he did for me. I'm doing it now. That brings me to my next workout partner in my life as a post-high school player, and that's my wife. Bob moved on, and it was her there at the field with me. She wasn't a great runner, but she encouraged me while I did. She could not throw a ball at all. But I would have her do things like stand on the bleachers, holding a football as high as she could hold it, and I would jump up and snatch it from her hands time and time again. She never complained then. She never complains now. For the past 40 years we've been together, 33 of them as husband and wife, and she's been supportive of everything I've ever gotten myself into. I also want to thank the coaches who gave their time to me and my teammates. Having coached now for 15 years, thanks to my good friend and mentor, Hall of Famer Sally Dickinson, I know how time-consuming and frustrating this can be. I had men, great caring men, teach me. Men like Al Dom, Duke Small, Watt Farrar, Len Volbert, Ed Lendensky, Ken Schaefer, and Bill and Steve Coate. All of them helped me with a word or a kick in the butt when I needed it. I am 56 years old, and their words still resonate with me. I was lucky to have great teammates, several of whom are here tonight. What an honor to have played with you guys. And just a few words about my athletic career here at Milton. It never occurred to me not to play 3 sports. I just thought that's what you did. I remember one day in Sunday school, Bill Grafflin, who was my Sunday school teacher, asked us what our goals were. And some of the kids said, my goal is to get married, my goal is to get a job. My goal was to be all SWBL in 3 sports. It didn't occur to me that it could never happen. In basketball, I was fortunate enough to start out with a person I thought was a great man, and that was Coach Len Volbert. And for those of you who knew Coach Volbert, about a month ago, the gym at Lima Perry High School was named after him. By my senior season, I was the best player on a team that went 1-18. One of the worst records in Milton history. And being the best player on a team like that is like being the best sailor on the Titanic. No matter how much you paddle, that sucker is going down. But a season like that teaches you humility, and it teaches you humility for the rest of your life. In baseball, Coach Schaefer showed me a lot of faith. He started me as a sophomore in front of a senior, and by my senior season, we were district champions. In football, I caught 51 passes for Coach Farrar, and looking back, that number is pretty incredible, because there were seasons where Coach Farrar didn't throw 51 passes. I was lucky to have Coach Lester Whitefield help me find Butler University, which was a perfect fit for me both athletically and academically. In fact, my scholarship there was 1/4 football, 3/4 academic. That football experience led me to an NCAA postgraduate scholarship that I used to pay for part of my medical school training. It all kind of fit together. I also know part of this honor is due to my participation as a team physician for the last 28.5 years. That's a job that's been so gratifying to me, especially now that I'm seeing the people who I took care of as students are now bringing their children to me, and that kind of trust is just such special praise. And lastly, a few words about my obsession with statistics. This is not something new, people. I have been doing stuff like this since I was a kid. I remember having matchbox cars and building a ramp and measuring how far the cars would roll down the ramp. So. To me, it just seemed natural when I came back to town in 1984 to start doing our statistics, and it kind of expanded into doing statistics for 5 varsity sports here at the high school. And you may not know it, but I do basketball stats for all 28 SWBL teams to this day. And Ron gave you a couple numbers. Well, I'll give you a couple specific numbers since I'm the stats guy. I have seen and statted every football game since 1985. That's 290 games. I have seen and statted every girls' basketball game since 1986. That's 590 games. I have seen and statted every boys' basketball game since 1985. That's 603 games. And I have seen and statted every girls' volleyball match since 1986. That's 644 matches. That is over 2,100 events. And in regards to all this, I'll say again what I've said before. There is a fine line between hobby and mental illness. And at this point, I want to thank my kids, because if they weren't playing in the games we were going to, we were more than likely dragging them along with us to the games, because Joy has been to about 75% of all those games I just mentioned. I'm very proud of what they've done with their lives, and this is spoken as a man who has never lived more than 100 miles from West Milton, and that was when I was in college. My oldest daughter, Jenny, lives in the San Francisco Bay Area and came all the way to see me today. Ben, my oldest son, lives near Baltimore, Maryland, and he brought his girlfriend, Katie, to be with us today. Kristen lives in Manhattan, and Brady is currently living in Brooklyn and working in the city. In fact, those two escaped the storm last night and drove all the way, all night, to be here today with me. I admire them so much for their bravery and confidence in pursuing their dreams away from here. But I will add to that right here is where I found my dreams. Besides liking to do stats, there's another reason that I do them. And I think the greatest thing you can do for a person is remember them. I hope that what I do sparks memories. A name, a date, an event. I've been blessed with a pretty good memory, and I remember things. I remember what Kim Burner looked like setting a volleyball. I remember how Clint looked on that first dunk. And I remember Coach Overla's face when he chewed me out. What I can hope in our lives, what we can hope in our lives, is that we have made a difference. And we can hope that we are remembered as someone who did make a difference. I always thought that by documenting all the records in the books, that these people stay alive, at least in one person's mind. How happy I am that I remember what David Kripe looked like running a football, or what Terry Tyson looked like fielding a ground ball in the hole at short, or what Margie Coate looked like shooting a jump shot. In closing, it's pretty much no secret that I love our school. Don't get me wrong, I'm a Buckeye and a proud graduate of Ohio State. I love my Butler University Bulldogs, and all you have to do is go to my office and see my jersey hanging on the wall in there. But I'm a Milton Union Bulldog, and I hope I have honored the school and the place I grew up as much as they have honored me today. I've had a great life here and was able to give my family a great life here too. It was in me. I had to give back to Old MU, and everything I do for our school is repayment of a debt that I can never repay. Being a Hall of Famer is the highest honor this Bulldog could receive. And I hope years from now, someone looks at my plaque on the wall in the gym lobby and says, "Hey, I remember him," and then the circle will be complete. Thank you.